Welcome to the Fantasy Audiobook. Meiman, the concept of gods, starting from God rewards those who work hard. Chapter 21. Do you see me beautiful? Aaron, quote, you see me beautiful. But as soon as Amora spoke, the invisible seductive power began to act on Aaron's senses. The same phrase kept echoing in my ears. In the line of sight, Amora's appearance became more and more gorgeous, as if it was even more moving and beautiful than before. The power of seduction tries to seize control of the body by modifying the five senses and entering the brain. However, after this enchanting force entered the brain, it was firmly blocked by a barrier, which could not further affect Aaron's spirit. Looking at Aaron's gradually confused eyes, Amora smiled more and more brightly. It worked. In front of her, no man can exempt her charm. Magical demons cannot be avoided. Amora was now thinking about what to do with Aaron. According to the original idea, after taking Aaron, she will help Aaron master more magic than psychic magic and become a powerful mage. Then use the power of the other party to take yourself further. By the way, she can also rescue her stupid sister. On this whim, he taught Aaron two magics to confirm whether the evil words circulated by Aaron and the group of apprentices were true. After the test, she was more determined about her previous ideas. Aaron has a powerful talent in magic that no one has ever seen before. Once grown, it will be possible to break the shackles of the bloodline and grow from an ordinary Asgardian to a powerful god that can only be reached by the royal bloodline. Perhaps, there is also the possibility of challenging Odin's rule. Even if you can't beat Odin, you can survive the other party. Amora had long discovered that Odin was old, and this god king gradually lost his absolute dominance over the 9 realms. When Lorelei launched a coup d'état, she also discovered this matter. It's just that Odin is even more tenacious than he thought. Another 100 more years. But no problem, she's young, and Aaron is young. With Aaron's magical talent, after surviving Odin, she can seek a higher status with him. As for Thor's megalomaniac, a little subtotal will solve it. Compared to his father, he was much younger. The second prince Loki, the wisdom is good, but the strength is a little worse. When Aaron grows up, he can definitely suppress the other party easily. Amora is already dreaming of a better life ahead. What are you thinking? Quote, I was thinking, well, are you all right? Quote. Amora reacted suddenly. She did not give instructions for Aaron to speak. So, Aaron wasn't seduced. Yes, it's quite tenacious. More than 99% of men have been able to do this. When he saw Aaron's clear gaze, Amora raised his eyebrows, reached out and put his hand on Aaron's shoulder, launching a stronger spiritual charm. This time, she clearly sensed that there was a barrier in Aaron's mind, blocking out all her psychic power. Psychic barrier. When did you learn it? Just before you came. Aaron replied directly. It's Aaron. Even if you are not there, will you go against me? No wonder you took Aaron directly and set up illusions to block me. Quote. Amora already understood why Aaron suddenly appeared and took Aaron before herself. It turned out to teach the other party the mind barrier magic as a way to resist the enchantment magic. Yet, I have only learned the spiritual barrier for such a short time, how can it stop me? I'm a master of psychic magic. Amora exerted all his psychic power, trying to break through the barrier and completely control the other party. She didn't believe in the small spiritual barrier, and she could help herself. Psychic barrier, she will too. As a master of psychic magic, she has absolute authority over psychic magic. After many experiments, the upper limit of the spiritual barrier has long been known. This time, it's done. However, after all, she looked up to her own spiritual power. The psychic barrier is the nemesis of psychic power, and the LV3 barrier is enough to resist Amora's control. No matter how hard she tried, she couldn't break through the barrier. The most promising moment is also so far off. Amora silently withdrew her hand, and the whole person stood up. My mind went blank. Queen of Heaven, what's going on inside? Aaron couldn't wait. Aaron and Amora have been inside for a long time. Just the two of them. She didn't want such a good magic seedling, so she was ruined by Amora. In the face of Aaron's anxious inquiry, Frigga's face was very strange, and she was vaguely shocked. She didn't say anything more, only replied, you'll find out soon. Quote. Before Aaron could say anything, she saw Amora come out. It looks so bleak and sad. Another one, Loki said silently. Although he does not know exactly what happened, the states of Amora and Vandal are not completely similar, only identical. Another hapless fool. Amora, what the hell did you do? Aaron stepped forward and questioned. In the face of the old opponent's questioning, Amora turned her head stiffly and glanced at her lightly, without any reaction. Only when he saw Frigga, his eyes like dead fish, did he move. But after thinking that her proud psychic seduction power was directly blocked by an Aaron who had studied the psychic barrier for an hour, she returned to her previous state. To your blessing, I can't do anything. After leaving a cold word, Amora walked away without looking back. Frigga didn't stop it, because Amora really couldn't do anything. There was no movement in the diva, and Loki would not do anything. Aaron, I heard you just say that you gave Aaron a magic book about psychic resistance before you came to me. Are you sure he hasn't touched any magic before? Aaron was stunned, and combined with the performance of Frigga and Amora, an absurd idea took root uncontrollably in her mind. Could it be that Amora's psychic magic was blocked by Aaron? No, I'm sure he only sensed the first magic when he took my first class. In addition to this, he does not have the right to enter the library to consult magic. So, he really only spent an hour learning the mind barrier. Frigga changed color slightly, and ignored Aaron and Loki, turned around and walked towards the Golden Palace. Asgard is really a magic monster. Seeing Frigga leave, Loki glanced thoughtfully in Aaron's direction. As smart as he is, he has already guessed part of the possibility. Can you resist Amora just by learning psychic magic? He was vaguely aware that something else was happening inside. But what exactly happened, only to ask Aaron and Amora, or to find Frigga? After hesitating for a while, he chased after Frigga. At this time, Aaron also walked out, and his spirit looked quite good. Aaron, are you all right? Amora, she didn't do anything to you, did she? Quote. Although she learned some information from Frigga, out of love for the magical genius, Aaron couldn't help but care. I'm fine, better than ever. Do you look like someone who has something to do? Aaron signaled her reassurance. Aaron repeatedly confirmed that Aaron did not look confused, and her face was similar to that of normal days, and then she was relieved. People who are controlled by psychic enchantment magic, as long as they are carefully distinguished, can still find a clue. From Aaron, she didn't find anything wrong. If you really want to say that there is. That is, Aaron's mood seemed to be good, not at all as uncomfortable as he imagined. In comparison, Amora's problem is significantly bigger. She has never seen anyone who controls others, and the controlled person is cautious, while the manipulator looks like a walking dead. If someone tells her without knowing that Amora is the victim, it is more persuasive. Don't worry, the Amora is not bad, she also taught me 2 new magics. Aaron smiled and said that he really thought Amora was not bad. This was not because Amora taught him magic, but because from the other side, he learned 2 good news. How to solve the problem of magic energy reserves is probably a problem. As a senior mage, Amora is not as conformist as other mages, and she is keen to explore forbidden knowledge. For Asgard history and various legends, there is a specialization. When Aaron asked how to quickly increase the magical energy reserve, Amora named 2 possible approaches. The first is to find a way to obtain Odin's blessing. Odin, a powerful deity with the name of King of the Gods, is even more powerful than shown in the movie. Aaron knew that Odin's blessings were able to improve people's physical fitness in all aspects. The once invincible Valkyrie Legion is that Odin selects the most loyal part from the Asgardian women, and then uses Odin's power to give them power, each of which has at least the power of the 3 warriors of the Immortal Palace. The female warriors who received Odin's blessing formed the Valkyrie Legion and made many achievements in the War of Unification of the 9 Realms. Even Thor at that time dreamed of becoming a member of the Valkyrie Legion. It can be seen from this how powerful and deeply rooted the Valkyrie was at that time. Only later, when he attacked Hela, he was sent out by Odin to be cannon fodder, and only Valkyrie escaped. At this point, the Valkyrie has completely become a legend. And after that, because there was no need for war, Odin no longer made Valkyries. As a result, Aaron lacked awareness of Odin's blessings. After Amora's analysis, Aaron learned that Odin's blessing was not so simple. It can be said that using the authority of the God King to create gods. And permanently. Unlike imagination, the power of receiving the blessed depends entirely on Odin's ideas. It can be both physical improvement and the acquisition of powerful magical powers. It's just that fighters with improved physical fitness are easier to control. Hearing this plan, Aaron didn't think much about it and passed directly. The reason is simple: it has been so long since the Battle of the Valkyrie Regiment, Odin has never created a new Valkyrie Legion. For so long, it also gave Heimdall the authority to control dark energy. From here, it is not difficult to guess Odin's thoughts. Maybe it's getting old, maybe it's that he doesn't think he needs it anymore. Whatever the reason, Aaron will not choose this method. He could not be as loyal as Heimdall, nor would he be driven by Odin. Although receiving Odin's blessing is indeed a good way to become stronger. But think about it instead: since Odin can be blessed, can't he be taken away? And to be honest, Aaron doesn't see this power. The Valkyrie's strength is not bad, but in the eyes of the strong, she is still an ant, and she is casually raised by Hela. Heimdall's performance is also very worrying, with nothing to see other than CD-long transgalactic teleportation and the all-seeing eye. As for the second option, that is to find the Holy Spring. Amora found a holy spring from the magic book, the Fountain of Wisdom. It is said that the Fountain of Wisdom is located in Jotunheim, surrounded by magic for a long time, and the spring water contains incredible power. If you can find the holy spring, you may be able to solve the problem of magical energy. Amora is not sure about this because the information exists in the book and is not confirmed. But Aaron thinks it may be true. In mythology, Odin was blind in one eye in exchange for knowledge in the spring. The Rune King Thor in the comics also completed his transformation by the Fountain of Wisdom. It is said that the Fountain of Wisdom connects to the World Tree, and this alone is enough to make people look at each other. Aaron set himself a new goal, which was to find the Holy Spring. The first issue now is the whereabouts of the Holy Spring. The current information only determines that the Fountain of Wisdom is located in Jotunheim. And Jotunheim is the territory of the Frost Giant, covered by 10,000 years of cold ice all year round, and its original inhabitants, the Frost Giant, are all over the world. If you want to find the Fountain of Wisdom, you have to face an immeasurable number of giants who may come forward to stop it. That's the second question. A mortal feud has been forged between the Frost Giant and Asgard. The two races fought many times, and it was in the atrium 1,000 years ago that the war came to an end. In that battle, Odin was permanently damaged in one eye, while the Frost Giant King Laufey was robbed of the sacred relic ice box. Without the relic, Laufey completely lost the possibility of fighting Odin for hegemony. It was necessary to passively sign a non-war contract. This is where a 1,000-year-long fragile peace has emerged. They will never be friendly to Asgardians who trespass into Jotunheim. There is a high probability that the swords will be against each other. Aaron remembers that his predecessor's parents were killed by Laufey in the Battle of the Atrium 1,000 years ago. So, strictly speaking, there is also a great hatred between him and the Frost Giant. If given the chance, Aaron doesn't mind personally resolving this father-killing feud. This is also why, when facing Loki before, there was a sense of rejection in my heart. Because Loki is a royal descendant of the Frost Giant. When he can't remember, he is taken away by Odin, who uses magic to transform it into an Asgardian appearance, and then adopts it with him. The intention, Aaron guesses, is likely to be to prepare Loki to replace Laufey as the new king of the Frost Giants at the right time. The throne of Asgard was then passed to Saul. In this way, with the brotherhood between Thor and Loki, the hatred between the two races can be eliminated, and the two can help each other and work together to maintain the peace of the 9 realms. However, Odin did not expect that because he said that both of them were born kings, he did not tell Loki's background, and even ignored his growth, causing Loki to become rebellious and mischievous, mistaking Odin for favoritism. Later, even if he knew his background, Loki looked down on the Frost Giant throne, but instead designed to kill Lof, and tried to use the Rainbow Bridge to directly destroy Jotunheim, and then with this credit, he sat on the throne of Asgard. Odin's initial idea was beautiful, but the process was greatly deviated. Don't look at Laufey's death, seems to be very sudden and unexpected. But Aaron never underestimated the seemingly weak Laufey. His weakness is relative to Odin. Even if he lost the Holy Relic, he was still the king of the Frost Giants, and he still had powers that were unattainable by ordinary people. Coupled with the immeasurable number of frost giants, it is quite difficult to reach the fountain of wisdom. Either improve your strength, and when the time comes, turn into a bulldozer and directly push Laufey and his subordinates. Either it's stealth, invisibility magic, as long as you can hide from the frost giant, you can avoid war. Quote, when you reach the fountain of wisdom, absorb enough mana to quickly increase your strength, so as to avoid direct conflict with Odin. The eternal flame and the icebox are located in Asgard and are difficult to obtain. At least for Eren now, it's tricky. Once Odin discovers that Eren has stolen these two artifacts, even if it is a magical demon, it is difficult to escape responsibility. After all, he was once a ruthless person who could ruthlessly seal Hela the year before last, and even erased traces of his existence. Even Thor and Loki, who have grown so big, have no idea that there is a terrifying sister above them, or the real heir to the throne. In addition to stealth magic, there is one last question. How do I get to Jotunheim? This question, maybe there are two options. Heimdall, Loki. While Eren was thinking, Eren still said seriously, Eren, Amora is an extremely dangerous figure, maybe there is no more dangerous than her in the whole of Asgard. Quote, although you got away with her this time, with what I know about Amora, she can't give up. Next time, she will definitely come to you for trouble. You'd better stay away from her, and never be alone with her again. Faced with Eren's worry, Eren nodded to show that he knew, but he thought of another stubble in his heart. That's right, Amora. Perhaps the key to solving the problem is her. The news of the Holy Spring was found by Amora, and she also mastered the power of spiritual seduction. Maybe he also mastered stealth magic. Perhaps, the key can be obtained from Amora. In all of Asgard, in addition to Odin, there are people who may know the location of the Fountain of Wisdom, which are Frigga and Heimdall. If you can control Heimdall, the problem will be solved. Amora, we will meet again soon. Quote, Eren suddenly felt that he might be able to subdue Amora. She brought herself many surprises. What's more surprising is that her strength is the weakest among key personnel. And the most powerful abilities are also restrained by themselves. It's just fat meat delivered to the door. The other side. Amora, who left the Magic Academy, sneezed violently. However, she did not realize that she had changed from hunter to prey. It is also regarded as a soft persimmon. Golden Palace. Frigga went straight to Odin. She was going to tell Eren about it. Now, Odin sits high on the throne. Although the silver-white beard hinted that the king of the gods was no longer young, his divine power still did not weaken in the slightest. With his golden battle armor, a fierce and domineering aura rushed towards him. No one doubts that Asgard will remain stable as long as Odin remains on this throne. The status of the Lord of the Nine Realms will never waver. King of the gods, there are some destabilizing factors in Warnerheim. The person under the throne is none other than Heimdall, the patron saint of the Nine Realms who is responsible for guarding the Rainbow Bridge and monitoring the Nine Realms for Odin. A group of rebels are secretly plotting a rebellion. They are ready to contact others in the next few days, gather together, and then provoke a war to seize the rule of Warnerheim and destroy the peace of the Nine Realms. Several stone giants were also found among them. Are we going to act now? Heimdall said quickly. It is not a big deal that there are people in Warnerheim who rebel. Because of Odin's benevolence, Asgard is only nominally the ruler of the Nine Realms. Several other worlds are governed by the original races of their respective regions. Asgard doesn't even have the right to command them, especially the Flame Giant, the Frost Giant. And Warnerheim, too, hides many unwilling people. To some extent, they were forced by Asgard's force to ostensibly recognize their status. But in fact, they all harbor ghosts. As soon as something happens in Asgard, they will immediately start a war of resistance in an attempt to overthrow Asgard's dominance. Especially in recent years, Odin has become older, and the number of rebellions has gradually increased. They are testing Asgard, testing whether Odin's gaze is still sharp, and whether time has fallen. In fact, the current situation cannot be completely solved. Unless these races are completely slaughtered, as they were with the Dark Elves. Even having Odin, the most powerful god in existence, could not change this fact. The reason is simple. The Asgardian army is sorely lacking. Compared to several other great powers, the Asa god clan has the fewest members. Coupled with these tens of thousands of years of southern conquests and northern wars, too many soldiers have died one after another. Compared to the original conquest of the Dark Elves, the army is much less. The reason why Odin did not want to continue to expand in the first place was also partly due to this factor. Asgard needs recuperation. Since he has already made a name for himself, there is no need to use military force. At least, within the 9 realms, Asgard is the absolute king. As long as countries honestly stay in their respective territories and do not make trouble, he will turn a blind eye. As for incidents like Warnerheim, Asgard will send someone to deal with it. After all, Hogun, one of the 3 warriors, was the one who came out of there. As Hogun's friend, Thor won't sit idly by. Of course, Odin couldn't ignore it. Because the diva Frigga is also a Warnerheim native. What is Thor doing? Odin asked a question unrelated to the Warnerheim rebellion. Heimdall activated his all-seeing eyes and immediately replied, he is training swordsmanship with Vandal and several others. Quote. Odin nodded slightly, yes, finally did not continue to fool around, still knew the importance of training. Go, tell Thor, get him and his friends ready, and in a week, lead someone to suppress the rebels. I see, God King. Heimdall led the way to leave. He didn't ask Odin why he was delayed by a week. At this time, Frigga walked in. Seeing the person coming, Odin's momentum instantly softened. Although he and Frigga were politically married, Frigga won the recognition of him and the entire Asgardian people with his unique personality charm. She can fully bear the name of the Queen of Heaven. Warnerheim has an accident again. Frigga looked worried, uneasy about the turmoil caused by the impending war. It's going to be fine. It's just a few minor problems, and I need to use them to lure out more rats so I can catch them all. Without waiting for Frigga to ask, Odin explained his decision to delay sending troops. He didn't want Frigga to misunderstand herself. Thor has grown up, and he is the future king of Asgard. In addition to great strength and wisdom, it also needs to be crowned by a crown forged by countless battle merits. This time, I still let Thor lead the 3 warriors to suppress the turmoil. Only in this way can he get more recognition from the army and the people. We have to let them know that Thor is capable of leading them to victory. There is also enough ability to defend Asgard, to defend the peace and stability of the 9 realms. Frigga nodded slightly, and she was smart and immediately understood Odin's painstaking efforts. This battle, in addition to maintaining peace in the 9 realms, is more of Sol's personal show. They are going to erect an invincible Thor. Only then can he succeed to the throne smoothly. Although it would bleed and shed a lot of blood, she still put up with it for Thor's sake and stopped asking. Later, Frigga talked about a past. Do you remember a warrior named Manning in that battle 1,000 years ago? Manning, he was a strong and heroic warrior with the courage to forge ahead. Quote. Odin only frowned for a moment before he remembered this man, his powerful memory enough to remember any member of the Asa race he had ever seen. I remember, he has been labored. Frigga nodded, and then said another name, he has a son named Aaron. Quote. Aaron Manningson, the protagonist's full name, Manningson means Manning's son, don't worry, use Aaron in the future. Although it is not known why Frigga mentioned the name, Odin remembered it. As for the reason, just because he is the son of a hero, it is enough. Frigga continued, Manning had a good baby, Aaron's magical talent, above me. His magical talent is above you. When Odin heard this, he suddenly became interested. What can make Frigga admit that it is inferior is probably only Loki's child in this generation. Loki is gifted with magic. But his temperament, Odin disliked very much. He didn't know why over the years, the other party grew longer and more deviant, contrary to the future he imagined. To this day, he is still often clever, forgetting his identity as a king. However, Loki's magical talent is still good. Frigga nodded heavily. There are some errors in my statement, it should be said that I am far behind him. He's the most gifted, potential mage I've ever met. Quote. He will definitely be a great 9 realms archmage. I believe that he is the future of the wizarding world. And Aaron and Thor are good friends, good boys who work hard. Frigga did not hesitate to praise herself. Judging from the clues collected before, Aaron shows a lover of learning, hard work, and sunshine. He is young and energetic. Not only completed a complete warrior training, but also learned magic in pursuit of knowledge. He is both an honorable warrior backup and an excellent mage apprentice. Above all, he is the son of a hero. It is innately easy to be recognized and favored. Hearing this, Odin couldn't help but look sideways. It was the first time he had seen Frigga praise a person like this. He asked curiously, "Aaron, this has such a terrifying magical talent." Quote, "I can't describe it." Frigga nodded at first, and hesitated, not knowing what to use to describe Aaron's talent for a while, and finally had to use Aaron's evaluation. Aaron said he was a magical demon, and I think it's appropriate to describe him. It only took an hour to learn the psychic barrier to fend off the charm of Amora. A few hours of work can make Aaron feel ashamed of herself on illusion magic. Any magic that he can learn once and master it at an astonishing speed can be learned in a very short time. According to Loki, he also possesses a highly accomplished sword technique, and even Vandal is willing to admit defeat. He's very good, both as a warrior and as a mage. He has great potential. Magical demon, I didn't expect Asgard to have such outstanding talent. Quote, Odin believed what Frigga said. Since Frigga would say this, it must have been determined many times. In other words, Aaron, the son of Manning, is a genius with both magic and martial arts, and even a demon. Thor did make a good friend. Odin exclaimed the same thing as when Frigga first heard about it. This is also good. Although Thor already has the assistance of Sif and the 3 warriors of the Immortal Palace, he will basically be able to stabilize Asgard and the peace of the 9 realms in the future. But if there is also a powerful mage to assist, his throne will be more secure in the future, and Asgard will be stronger. Thor is too young after all, and he is also more reckless and impulsive. His strength is good, but in magic, he does not specialize. A qualified king, it is better not to be partial. Bravery, wisdom and magic are indispensable. Despite the assistance of Loki, the mage brother, it is still difficult to reassure. Loki's performance is not like he can help Thor wholeheartedly. Not to mention, Loki could become the king of another kingdom. At this moment, Odin is very relieved. First Thor learned the importance of training, and then he heard that Thor had a very good mage friend. And he is also the son of a hero, which is the most reassuring. Manning is a very good fighter. Frigga hesitated slightly, and then relayed to Odin the advice that Aaron had made when she first came to report her. You mean, it's up to you to teach him magic? Well, at the same time I have to observe the quality of that child. Frigga added. I also found that Loki has a stronger love for magic because of him, and just now he begged me to help him. I haven't seen Loki like this in a long time. Quote, so, for the sake of Thor and for Loki, I should all take Aaron as a disciple. Frigga apparently didn't know why Loki's sudden interest in magic had skyrocketed. Not to mention that Loki regarded Aaron as the biggest rival of the first mage of the 9 realms. Odin didn't quite agree with Frigga's idea. Loki is the bloodline of the frost giant, and Manning and his wife. I'll take care of their relationship, and Loki and Aaron don't know about it, do they? Loki's true identity has never been made public, and the only people who know his bloodline are Odin and Frigga. Even if Aaron knew that his parents died from the frost giant, he would not have hated Loki. And she was confident that that moment would not come. Odin did not object again, and after thinking for a moment, said, this matter, after quelling the Warnerheim rebellion, it was up to Thor to say. Quote, Frigga instantly understood that this was ready for Thor to buy people's hearts. Children Aaron's age are the easiest to eat this set. However, they did not expect that the Aaron they thought would not eat this set at all. He already knew Loki's true identity, and he also had a heart far beyond his peers. It's true that he and Thor are friends, but it's impossible to work for him because of this friendship. And still after getting Goldfinger. The other side. Once he had reformulated his next goals, Aaron had started to make preparations. Roll. Before the showdown with Amora, you must ensure that you have enough crushing strength. Last time, he didn't have much preparation, but he could withstand Amora's spiritual charm. In order to ensure the success of the plan, the mental barrier must continue to be raised to prevent overturning. Other than that, it is also necessary to eliminate the possibility of Amora escaping in the face of a bad situation. Be wary of her other forces as well. After all, Amora had become a well-known witch in Asgard long before he learned magic. Magical prowess should not be underestimated. You seriously cast illusion magic once, slightly gained, illusion magic proficiency +4. You seriously cast illusion magic once, great gains, illusion magic proficiency +4, your illusion magic upgraded to physical magic. Illusion magic has finally been upgraded to LV5. Embodied magic. Aaron rubbed his head lightly, his tired spirit was relieved a little, and then looked at the upgraded illusion magic. Embodied magic is not the transformation of reality in reality, nor is it the creation of physical objects out of thin air. It is an entity that is made by energy materialization that is almost identical to reality. It is a world away from the illusion of the previous level. LV1's illusion magic can only create rough illusions, at most deceiving some ordinary people with big hearts. LV2's illusion magic can create illusions that can blind most people's vision. LV3's illusion magic can create energy entity avatars, and simple appearance observation basically loses the ability to discriminate. LV4's phantom entity, while having part of the real physical strength, even has a part of the magic power, can cast magic, the combat power is considerable, and can even imitate and maintain the state of death, making people not distinguish between true and false. The level of illusion that old Loki had when he escaped Thanos in suspended animation was probably this level. The illusion of LV5 is a huge leap. The illusion entity created at this time, even out of the category of illusion, inherits the combat consciousness and skills of the real body, and will also be almost all magic in the real body, and the magic level cast will be worse, but it is still shocking. In addition to using some extremely special abilities, outsiders simply cannot distinguish between real and false, just like the name of magic, embodied magic. From illusion to entity. If the illusion of a spaceship, a car, in some way, is real, it can all work. However, the premise is that you understand the principle. Otherwise, even if the illusion comes out, it will only be a shell, and it will be in vain. At most, it can only have the same material as its external structure. So, I still need to be a physicist, a mathematician, a chemist, a biologist. Forcing me to read a lot of books, right? The thought of learning so much made Aaron feel that time was running out of time. He couldn't take care of magic alone, and how he spent time specializing in other knowledge. Illusion magic should not only go to this extent. Illusion is a false illusion, and it is the imagination that limits it, not the so-called principles. There is only one case where there can be such a situation, and that is that the level is not enough. LV5's magic level cannot fully materialize its imagination. If you want to create entities as you like, you need to continue to improve. Quote, when I can ignore the so-called rules of principle and materialize all kinds of unreasonable illusions, that is the real embodied magic. No, maybe it shouldn't be described as magic. This is not wild speculation. The materialization process is similar to the process by which Green Lantern embodied green light energy by will. When Green Lantern embodied his imagination, how many of them considered its principle? Today's embodied magic is similar to the ability of the green light ring. The objects created by the two have the function of real objects, but their essence is still energy. It's not really a creation. At present, it seems that the ability of the Green Lantern ring surpasses the embodied magic after the illusion magic is promoted, and there is also an ion shark as an energy source, providing endless energy. But in terms of potential, illusion magic is limitless. Aaron is confident that he will pass the green light, and the time it will take will not be long. LV5's illusion magic is enough, only to deal with one Amora, and it doesn't need too advanced magic. In the following time, continue to improve the spiritual barrier and energy absorption. The point is to accumulate enough mana to improve other magic over time, which may not be very high, but sometimes it can be a small surprise. Thinking of this, Aaron converged his mind, entered a meditative state, concentrated on energy absorption, and continuously absorbed the magical energy in the air. The proficiency of energy absorption continues to increase. Training ground. Since Vandal lost to Aaron in the sword duel, after only a brief period of confusion, he quickly regained his confidence and spent more time on sword training. He is a master of swordsmanship, a genius of swordsmanship, and has never lost to others in swordsmanship. This failure was summed up by him as slack. Because he couldn't find an opponent for a long time, he was addicted to the gentle country of beauty, which led to being surpassed by Aaron, who had been studying hard and training. Vandal didn't think anyone could surpass him in his talent for swordsmanship. And Aaron has now given up his warrior training to concentrate on the ocean of magic. As long as you work hard enough, I believe that you will soon be humiliated. With this mentality, Vandal even pushed off the invitation to the drinking party of Saul and others in the past few days and began a long training. Seeing this, Saul and the others did not want to leave Aaron and Vandal to drink alone, and finally they could only start training with Vandal. It wasn't until Heimdall's arrival that the status quo changed. Father asked me to lead an army to quell the unrest in Warnerheim. Thor only finished hearing this, and shouted excitedly, "Guys, assemble quickly, we have something to do." Quote. Without waiting for the others to gather, he said again, "Heimdall, please go and inform Aaron, it is just the moment to show his talents, how can you lack him?" Quote. Thor, the God King said that in a week, don't forget. Heimdall nodded after a word, and then turned away expressionlessly. During the whole process, there was no other look because of Thor's identity. For he was loyal only to the king of Asgard, or rather, only Odin. Neither Thor nor Loki could command him. Even Thor asked him to help, but he used the word trouble, and the things he asked did not affect his performance of his duties. The reason for this is his duty, which requires guarding Asgard from enemies outside the kingdom. When something goes wrong, the consequences are unimaginable. Therefore, he is only responsible to Odin and his will. A week is not short, not long. For the Asa gods, it is only equivalent to the time that the earthlings sleep for less than one night, which can be said to be fleeting. News of Sol's imminent leadership to quell internal unrest in Warnerheim spreads. Everyone is expecting their Grand Prince to lead the army and, like Odin, win for Asgard. And this week, Aaron, apart from eating and the necessary sleep time, focused all his energy on improving his abilities. Even the Academy of Magic has never been there. Aaron also specially ran to look at it for this reason, just because she was worried that something was wrong with Aaron, because in the past few days, Amora has also mysteriously disappeared. However, after discovering that Aaron had been fascinated by magic, he let go of his heart. Mages often forget to eat or sleep because they learn a certain magic. Aaron has just started, he can achieve this level, and he has not slackened because of his own talent, but has shown more terrifying perseverance and tenacity than ordinary mages, and is destined to become the strongest mage in the future. Aaron is confident in this. It's just that Aaron's action makes her happy at the same time, but also brings her endless pressure. Genius is not terrible. As long as ordinary people work hard, there is still a glimmer of hope to catch up. However, if the other party is a demon, and he works harder and harder than others, it is desperate. Aaron used to be barely a genius of hard work. But in front of Aaron, there is no comparison. It's only been so strong in one day, how terrifying should Aaron be now? Aaron walked away with a complicated look. Inside the room, Aaron opened his eyes and let out a long breath. It's over. With my current strength, defeating the former me can be said to be easy. Name, Aaron. Lifespan, 1,005 Talent, heavenly reward for hard work. Skills, energy absorption, Asgardian meditation, LV 636,000 1 millionths, fighting LV 5 to 100,000ths, sword art LV 5 to 100,000ths, embodiment magic, illusion magic, LV 5 1/100,000th, space storage LV 4 10/10,000ths, gun technique LV 4 to 10,000ths, mind barrier LV 4 to 10,000ths, Nien power LV 4, energy explosion LV 4. Attributes, intelligence 3, strength 4, speed 3, endurance 4, energy intensity 4, fighting skill 6. Strength evaluation, surface level, second-rate superhero. Since this training plan focused on improving the magic energy reserve, he didn't spend much time practicing except for swordsmanship, fighting arts, and embodied magic. In his plan, these 4 capabilities will play a greater role. As for the rest, enough will do. After this wave of enhancement, both energy intensity and fighting skills are increased by 1 point. As for the other values, they are still standing still. If you can get magic that uses magic to strengthen your body, this situation can be improved. Not to mention becoming a hexagonal warrior, at least you can become a pentagonal warrior. The intellectual piece, there is no way to change the time for the time being. Quote. A hint of helplessness spread in Aaron's eyes. His main energy at the moment is to improve his strength. Whether the intelligence is high or not is not an important question, as long as the strength is strong enough, any intrigue is fragile. For now, he hopes to get magic that strengthens his body. Strength, speed, and endurance are not something that can be quickly increased by training alone. He is just an ordinary Asa god clan, and the potential of his body is there. Instead of trying to tap that meager potential, it is better to find a way to match Shazam and Hea. Strengthen your body with magic and improve your strength in all aspects. In fact, Thor and Odin's physical qualities also come from the power of the inherited God King, a special magical power. They are not simple warriors, but magic warriors. According to the characteristics of their respective divine powers, the direction of gravity displayed is also different. Thor's divine power gives him strong energy resistance, as well as unripe physical qualities. In comparison, Hela's defense is much weaker, but her resilience is extremely strong, and as long as the energy is constantly replenished, she can quickly recover from injuries. Aaron guessed that this method of using magic to enhance physical fitness might only be available from Odin. Even Frigga never mastered it, and the group of mages of Karmatage probably did not have it. Otherwise, just by relying on the magic power of the ancient gods obtained by loans, you can make magical superhumans in batches. By the way, maybe Hela also has this magic in her hands. After all, it is a ruthless person who has just left the seal and can crush Mjolnir with one hand. Just the knowledge of the hammer and the strength of the power she displays, it can't be so casual. Not to mention, she was still in the weakest state at that time, and she was only at her peak when she returned to the Immortal Palace. Aaron silently analyzed that if he couldn't get this kind of magic from Odin, he wouldn't mind making a deal with Hela. These aside, it's time to test the power of embodied magic. This time Warnerheim counterinsurgency, but a rare opportunity. Heimdall had informed him of the military operation, and Aaron was interested. What he lacks the most at present is actual combat, and now he has the opportunity to use another Protoss as a test object, why not? When Aaron arrived at the meeting point, the elites of the Thousand Immortal Palace have been waiting for a long time. The troops were waiting in unison at the end of the Rainbow Bridge. With just one order, they can step on the Rainbow Bridge, and then pass through the teleportation array opened by Heimdall, directly to Warnerheim, and decapitate the enemy base camp. This is Asgard's proudest way of fighting. With the advantage of the Rainbow Bridge, they were able to defeat the enemy many times. Anyone who goes against Asgard fears for the safety of the base camp. Because the warriors of Asgard may come to us at any time. In front of the army, naturally, there is a small group headed by a few souls. Thor, Loki, the three warriors of the Ascendum Palace and Sif. They are the future king of Asgard and the future commander of the army of the Asgard. Sif could also become the new diva. Odin has struggled to stabilize the transitional Asgardian power structure. When Thor was still having fun all day, he was ready for him. If nothing else, there will be no waves in Asgard after Thor is called queen. The upper, middle, and lower layers can all unite tightly, like an airtight wall, blocking the enemy from the wall. Unfortunately, Odin is not omniscient and omnipotent after all. Loki Hela is a flaw in the plan, and the twilight of the gods is destined to come. When Eternal Solal raised the Sword of Twilight, it was the day of the end of Asgard. Hey, Aaron, it's just you, don't come up soon. After Aaron appeared, Saul, who was riding on a white horse, waved at him and pointed to the warhorse that was still empty beside him. We have waited for you for so long, almost thinking that you brat is afraid to raise a spear at the enemy. Aaron rolled over and mounted his warhorse, ignoring Loki's gaze, glanced at the time, and said angrily, "It's best to look at the time before talking next time, there is still a while before the departure time, who let you arrive so long in advance?" Quote, "Ha ha ha, isn't this because of excitement? I believe that every fighter is preparing for this day." Thor laughed and commanded the warhorse to move forward, and the army began to move after several people. Asgard admired primitive hand-to-hand combat, and even though it possessed magical technology far beyond Earth, it was rarely used in warfare. More often than not, as in ancient Earth, warriors dressed in battle armor and armed with spears charge at the enemy. Even riding a horse is a privilege of the conductor. In fact, with Aaron's status, he was not even a soldier. Even with his strength, it is easy to become a soldier, but before he goes to the assessment, his identity can only be a low-level civilian. In Asgard, almost every miner goes to warrior training, and after completing the training, they also have to participate in the warrior assessment. Those who qualify become an honorable warrior. The extremely excellent can join the Golden Palace Guard, that is, Odin's Guard, with an indestructible full-body armor, responsible for the mission of guarding the palace, and when fighting, he is also the most courageous warrior and he has won the trust of the God King. If you don't go to the assessment, you won't even have the opportunity to go to the battlefield, let alone ride a war horse and walk in front of the troops. However, who called Aaron a member of Thor's small group, the privileged class would exist everywhere. When Aaron rode on the war horse, it can be said that he completely integrated into this circle, and to some extent also got Odin's acquiescence. After all, Heimdall, who guarded the Rainbow Bridge, had no opinion. He was Odin's most loyal subordinate. Aaron, I heard that you have been practicing in retreat for 7 days this time. It seems that your gains are not small. Quote. Loki asked meaningfully, can you tell us more about it? Quote. He sees Aaron as his strongest competitor. This time, when he heard that Aaron had been practicing hard at his home for 7 days, he was anxious. Following Frigga, it was rare to study seriously for a while. Now when we meet, I want to inquire about some information. It was a surprise, you guys will soon find out. Aaron sold a pass, not really saying what he had gained. This kind of thing, regardless of whether it can be said or not, even if it is really said, no one will believe it. In 7 days, several abilities have been raised to a point that ordinary people cannot reach in a lifetime, and anyone who listens to them will be blindfolded. When Loki heard this, he looked at him with a look of embarrassment. The fear of Aaron deepened in my heart. Although Aaron didn't say anything, he said everything. I believe that the so-called surprise will be quite shocking. Am I really inferior to him? How much has changed in a week? Quote. Loki thought about his gains in the past few days, and it was even more uncomfortable. Magic could not be rapidly improved overnight. Wrong. Except for this guy. Fark, is he really a magical demon? No one knows what Loki thinks at this time, but the conversation between the two has attracted the attention of others. Thor joked, guys, how about we play a game? Quote, since Aaron is so confident, then we might as well have a competition to see who beats the most and the fastest. The one who loses will be responsible for all the expenses of this celebration banquet. Well, I agree with that. Vandal was the first to speak out in agreement, not forgetting to raise an eyebrow at Aaron. Aaron, although I lost the last sword duel, this time, I will definitely not lose to you. Vandal thought simply. Even though Aaron's swordsmanship was high, he was only a novice who had not participated in any battles after all. No matter how powerful his swordsmanship is, it is impossible for him to have rich combat experience. The battlefield is not a home, and the enemy is unlikely to give you a one-on-one opportunity. Even if Aaron is very talented, what can he do in 7 days? Could it be a victory that can be won by transfigurating a few phantom doppelgangers? That's naive. He has seen Loki's phantom doppelganger, and in addition to being indistinguishable, he can easily hit 100. Yes, if you lose, help me drink the wine I owed last time. How could Aaron refuse Vandal to come to the door to help? The conditions he promised to last time teasing several people have not yet been fulfilled. This time it was an opportunity to push to Vandal. No problem. If you lose, it's 2 meals. Quote. Vandals readily agreed. Will he lose? Definitely not. Loki glanced at the smug Vandal, and laughed silently in his heart. Bet with Aaron. Even he didn't dare to answer easily, but Vandal really had courage. Magical demon, just let me see how much stronger you have become. The group came to the center of the Rainbow Bridge while talking and laughing, without paying any attention to the enemy they were about to face. Everyone is confident in this fight. Heimdall, please. Thor greeted Heimdall. Heimdall nodded and used the Guardian Sword to open the Rainbow Bridge. Soon, a golden portal to Warnerheim appeared in front of several people. For Asgard, Thor raised his hammer and shouted, stepping into the portal first. Thousands of Asgardian warriors waved their spears to echo. The army marched through portals, spanning countless light years, to another realm of gods, Warnerheim. At this time, the soldiers of the rebel base camp of Warnerheim were directly dumbfounded. As soon as they finished assembling, Asgard called. Is Asgard still not declining? The Thor people did not know that when all the troops entered the portal, Odin also teleported to the center of the Rainbow Bridge. And used magic to see everyone's actions. He pays more attention to Thor than anyone else. Odin's arrival this time, firstly, in order to avoid possible changes, can also strike in time if there is a problem. The second is to witness the beginning of Thor's rise to the throne. As long as Thor can win this victory, he can publicize it and create a crown of kings for him. In addition to this, he also wanted to see Eren, the son of heroes. See how outstanding this magical demon that makes both Eren and Frigga feel ashamed of themselves is. King of the gods, Thor, they just made a bet. Seeing Odin's arrival, Heimdall, who was silent, immediately relayed what had just happened. After hearing this, Odin said with a leisurely gaze, "Who do you think will lose and who will win?" Quote, "Of course it's Thor. He is the bravest warrior in Asgard, and he is the perfect inheritor of your bloodline power, and no one can beat him but you." Heimdall replied without thinking. As for who will lose, Heimdall silently compared several others. The strength of Sif and the three warriors is between Bozong. Loki is the second prince, good at intrigue and magic. There are many tricks, the strength is good, the person who loses cannot be him, he is not the one who will suffer. And Eren, a newcomer who has just joined the Sol group, it is said that he has just completed his fighter training, and he is much worse in terms of strength and combat experience. So, I think it's Eren. Heimdall didn't know Eren's reputation as a magical genius. Thanks to Odin's blessing, he doesn't even need to sleep, and can maintain his energy for a long time to guard the Rainbow Bridge, monitor the 9 realms and beyond, and ward off enemies. As a result, he rarely leaves the Rainbow Bridge, and he does not know that Eren has become the focus of many people's free discussions. After all, a newcomer who has a good relationship with Prince Thor and whose magical talent is far beyond ordinary people has too many topics worth gossiping. Odin was non-committal. He agreed with Heimdall's first answer, but had reservations about the second. If Eren was really as wicked as Frigga said, perhaps as he said, he would have surprised others. How big this surprise was, he was also quite curious. Warnerheim. In this beheading operation, the Asgard side dispatched less than 2,000 people. Because the rebels are only a very small part of the Warner Protoss. And there are no strong people in it, there is no need to make a big move. As for Asgard, the leader is the thunder god Thor, who inherits the power of the God King, and one person is worth thousands of god race elites. Coupled with the decapitation operation, Odin dared to let Thor attack. He believes that as long as nothing happens, Thor will bring back victory. But sometimes, the result is right, but the process goes off. When the rebels were in a panic at the sight of the arrival of the many Asgardians, Thor was excited and ready to rush up to deal a heavy blow to the enemy. However, it was not Thor or Sif and the others who attacked first, but Eren. I saw that Eren opened his hand from afar, waved gently, and suddenly transformed into hundreds of Eren doppelgangers, densely occupying the front field of vision, blocking the charging path of Thor and others, and swarming towards the enemy. Each doppelganger here has slightly inferior physical qualities, armed with long swords, and engages rebel soldiers in close combat. Eren's physical fitness is a little worse than that of the 3 warriors of the Immortal Palace, but it is not worse than the other warriors. Although these doppelgangers suffer a bit in strength because they are incomplete physical avatars created by magic, their sword skills up to LV5 and almost full combat skills allow them to defeat enemies very easily. In a short period of time, Eren's avatar has already cleared the enemies in front of him. The others stood there for a long time. "Eren, you're cheating." Thor was unconvinced, and Eren actually blocked his path with his doppelganger, making it impossible for him to strike arbitrarily. Coupled with the shock he fell into, when he came back to his senses, as far as the eye could see, where was the enemy? He came to kill the enemy, not to watch the play. Play it. Sif and the others also hurriedly spoke out. Where is there such a fight to play? Everyone came with great interest, they all wanted to show their skills, and this was the result. You don't fight as soon as you say hello, you directly open a big clearance, the enemies in front are all gone, and you have a people's mentality. However, as soon as they denounced, they found that Eren's doppelganger had begun to move to both sides after dealing with the enemy in front, and he had the posture of killing the enemy in one fell swoop. Thor was in a hurry, and he didn't care about the denunciation, and quickly flew to the side. Oh wait, the person on the left is handed over to me, you stop quickly. Quote. Several other people looked at each other, and Vandal even clenched his long sword with a bitter expression. In this game, he lost completely, and he lost without temper. When he didn't get close to the enemy, Eren cleared at least a quarter of the enemy. What next? He is not Thor, nor Eren, but a plain warrior with a long sword. Even if the sword art is high, it is impossible to turn over. Still lie down, I lay down. Well, something is wrong, these people's swordsmanship, how do they feel, better than me? Vandal noticed a little at this time, how can these Eren doppelgangers be so capable of fighting one by one? Loki had a similar feeling. Why are these doppelgangers so powerful? Say yes to the illusion. He is very clear about this, even if the Phantom Avatar has a little combat power, it is only a little, it is barely okay to deceive people, if you want to defeat the enemy, it is impossible. Are we really learning the same magic? Could it be that you learned it wrong? No way. Loki fell into deep doubt. The same as illusion magic, how is the gap so big? Even Eren and Frigga couldn't do it at this level. And this time, Loki was shocked to find that even if he put all his energy into it, he couldn't tell the truth from the fake. It was as if every doppelganger was Eren. It doesn't matter if it's true or not, it doesn't matter if it's true. Because every single one can take a human life in the next second. It turns out that illusion magic has reached its peak, and it is so powerful. It seems that I also have to hurry up and study. Loki thought to himself that if he also had this level of illusion doppelganger, then no one would be able to see through him. The main thing is that the ability to save lives has greatly increased. In the future, if you encounter any danger, you can fake your death by creating another self. It's a life-saving skill. As a god of intrigue, he valued his life very much. Before each action, I was prepared to retreat after failure. That's why Loki is safe every time, unless something happens that he didn't expect or didn't want to retreat. In this way, when I go back, I will learn illusions, since Eren can achieve this level so quickly, he should not be too bad, right? Loki summoned 2 daggers, and he hadn't forgotten that there was still a bet. Needless to say, the winner of this battle has not yet appeared, and he does not want to pay for the celebration. What's more, the biggest winner this time is Eren, the biggest competitor in his heart, and spending money to celebrate his opponent is not a wonderful thing. Just as Loki posed for pause, a dozen identical daggers whizzed past him and flew towards the enemy in that direction. What? Who stole my limelight? As soon as Loki turned around, Eren nodded at him and smiled. Quote. Noticing the other party's identical movements as himself, he felt a deep malice. There was also a rush of panic. Reading dynamics. Could it be that Amora handed it on? It seems that he is more skilled than me. People are cracked. Loki silently withdrew the dagger, he didn't want to lose his face. Before he thought it was very handsome to control the dagger, but now, he already wanted to stop using Nien power in the future, at least not where there was Eren. Then, the whole person disappeared in place. Invisibility magic. Eren's eyes lit up. He has long coveted stealth magic. Now that the strength is also up, do you want to find an opportunity to talk to Loki, and get a few needed magic first? In the future, you may be able to use Loki to get the Infinity Stones or the Ice Box. Loki's magic level is not high, but it is more comprehensive. He has a lot of good things in his hands. There was so much magic that Eren desperately needed. Previously, considering that there was a gap in the strength of the 2 sides, it was easy to be calculated by the other side. Now, he has the power far above Loki, and his biggest concerns are gone, and he can plan further. Go back and find Amora first, if not, go to Loki, as long as you plan properly, it's not a big problem. Loki is a smart guy and dealing with smart people is simple. And thanks to his understanding before crossing over, he knew how weak Loki was under his shiny surface. He also had too much in his hands that Loki wanted. In addition, Eren does not mind making a deal with Loki, such as embracing him as king of Asgard. Loki is definitely looking forward to that position, and he believes that if he sits on the throne, he will definitely be able to do better than Saul. But Odin never considered him, and everything was arranged for Thor. Loki has no helpers, no followers, and if there is a talented and powerful mage who supports him at this time, it is definitely a super help. In comparison, magic is nothing. The name of the first mage of the 9 realms, which is the Lord of the 9 realms, is loud. Looking at this aspect alone, the two can be said to be excellent allies. The objectives of both sides are not at all in conflict. Aaron only cares about collecting magic, improving strength. Power is an incidental to strength, and when the strength is strong to a certain extent, what is the 9 realms? It's just a dirt overlord in a corner. And Loki doesn't care about magic and strength, only about the throne, or just wants to prove to others that he is better than Thor. But, thinking so, Aaron didn't want to find Loki so quickly. Now was not the time to take sides, and he was sure that as long as he showed that he was too close to Loki, he would not want to learn more esoteric magic in the future, and he might even be suppressed. Odin will not allow anyone to threaten Thor's position at this moment. A single Loki doesn't have that ability, and if you add Aaron, it's hard to say. Demons can never be treated with common sense. Thinking of this, Aaron also suddenly felt a headache. His senses for Odin are not bad. Although the other party indirectly blocked his crazy plan to improve his strength, it did provide a relatively peaceful environment for newcomers to grow. Asgard during this period still has the power to deter many civilizations in the galaxy, and is the most envious place of peace in the hearts of all those who suffer. Don't look at Asgard, it seems to be on the verge of decline, it is not far from destruction, and it is about to be ravaged by many forces in turn. But before the official opening of the Avengers, Asgard had a great reputation throughout the galaxy. While other civilizations in the galaxy were ravaged by the Kree Empire and Thanos, only the 9 realms administered by Asgard remained peaceful and peaceful. It all has to do with Odin. Aaron was still grateful to Odin, but that was all. Odin is not really indifferent to his actions because of his gratitude. At this moment, Rainbow Bridge Hub, Odin, who has been observing the situation of the battle, while sighing that the magic demon is worthy of its name, is also feeling a headache for the publicity later. Aaron's surprise was too great. There is no doubt that the biggest winner of this battle is Aaron, the biggest contributor. Thor is far inferior to the other side. Although the battle was won, new problems arose. This Saul solo show has become a special show for Aaron, the magical demon. And thousands of people watching at the same time. Aaron's genius name is destined to be recognized by everyone. Saul, on the other hand, was trampled underfoot. So, do you still want to publicize it? If it is impossible to pave the way for Saul, what is the need for propaganda? Aaron, you have given me a problem. Odin fell into deep thought. Chapter 31. Aaron's performance was quite amazing and wonderful. Odin is also a master of magic, and he is the almighty kind. Just the movie shows that there is no need for the Rainbow Bridge to open cross-galactic teleportation, a spell to seal Thor's divine power, give others strong physical qualities or dark energy teleportation, create enchanted artifacts, create a sealed place that is enough to imprison Hela, etc. Each ability doesn't look flashy, but it contains a very difficult level of magic. He sees Loki's magic as a small trick that can restraining Thor's divine power at will. His magical attainments are unfathomable. But even he, after seeing Aaron's illusionary magic, could not help but sigh. Because even he, in illusionary magic, is not as good as Aaron. He could see that Aaron was definitely the first person in the 9 realms in this magic. Aaron, on the other hand, is just an apprentice who has been learning magic for a week. This kind of talent cannot be described as a demon. Moreover, he is also the son of a hero, one of the small group of Saul. Belong to your true own people. Even if the other party inadvertently disrupted his plan this time, he couldn't blame him. After all, to publicize Thor's plan, as far as he and Frigga knew, Heimdall was half, and there was no possibility of leakage. Odin would not doubt Heimdall's loyalty, or he would not have given him the duty of guarding the Rainbow Bridge. This is the most important position in Asgard. Only absolute cronies can give this position. God King, Aaron, this. Heimdall was incredulous of all this. He actually had a day to look away. He's a genius, he's a demon, and to tell you the truth, even I was surprised. Don't look at him the same way as before. Odin sighed rarely. Heimdall couldn't help but look sideways when he heard this. The great king of the gods actually had such a high opinion of a newcomer. It's hard to have a once in 1,000 years. At this time, Heimdall also paid more attention to Eren in his heart. What can be praised by Odin? The future must be bright. Perhaps, in the future, the two will still be colleagues, assisting Thor together to protect Asgard and the peace of the Nine Realms. Meanwhile, the battle for Warnerheim is not over. Faced with the double blow of Eren and Thor, the rebels simply could not resist. Plus the more than 1,000 Asgard troops led by the three warriors of the Immortal Palace and Loki and others. The scales of victory are already slowly tilting. By this point, the battle was coming to an end. However, from the rear of the battlefield, a burst of cheers suddenly came to mind. Several tall stone figures walked over. They are almost twice the height of everyone else. On the arms, which are thicker than the thighs, there is also leather armor. With a mace in hand, he stepped into the battlefield with a slight earthquake. After the two sides of the melee saw the tall stone man, they stopped the battle one after another, and then tacitly handed over the battlefield to their respective bosses. This is the consensus formed by the two communities for thousands of years. The victory or defeat of the battle does not depend on the soldiers at the bottom, but on the strong. In local battles, soldiers can also play a role. But once the strong of both sides enter, it is necessary to perform a ceremony similar to that of a fighting general. And by now, the rebels on the side of Warnerheim are actually timid. The appearance of the stone man at this moment also made them feel a little lucky. Yo, there are actually a few stone giants. Thor flicked his hammer and flew up close to look at the other party. At this time, Eren also approached with the doppelganger. When the people of Warnerheim saw the two, especially Eren, their faces rose with a touch of fear. If it weren't for Eren's existence, even in the face of the Asgard raid, they would not have lost so quickly. Eren, is this illusion magic? How can they also your superb swordsmanship? Quote. Vandal and several people also walked over, curiously looking at the physical doppelganger. Sif even poked a doppelganger with her hand, and the touch was so real that it was unimaginable that it was an illusion. That's the surprise I told you, my illusion magic has improved again. Eren said with a pale face. Fortunately, most of the week was spent meditating and absorbing the magic, otherwise there would really be no way to maintain so many doppelgangers. Before changing to it, at most dozens of them were maintained at the same time. And these doppelgangers are not complete. A true full-fledged physical avatar can use magic. It's just that Eren's magic power is still small, and dividing hundreds is the limit, and how can there be extra mana to distribute to them? Let them use magic to fight. But even so, it is enough to deal with a group of Warner soldiers who are no more powerful than ordinary Asgardian warriors. And now, when the stone man appeared, it was no longer necessary to maintain the doppelganger. Eren snapped his fingers, and hundreds of doppelgangers dissipated at the same time. Energy absorption. Eren took a deep breath, lifted the scattered energy after the embodied avatar, and did not disappear again, but was pulled into Eren's body by an inexplicable suction force. This is part of the LV6 energy absorption ability, which can swallow all the ownerless energy within a certain range. Of course, it is naturally impossible for this absorption to return to its pre-magic heyday. Because energy is consumed all the time during use. Objects created by embodied magic have a time limit, and when the energy is not enough to continue to maintain their state, they will be automatically dissolved. However, even if this is the case, it can make up for the shortcomings of insufficient endurance to a certain extent. At least after the magic is lifted, it still has a considerable amount of magical energy reserves. Surprise. Hopefully there's less of that surprise. I feel only surprise, no joy. Loki, who came over at this time, silently refuted in his heart. A pair of eyes kept spinning around Eren. He felt that since Eren had learned magic, everyone's eyes had been attracted by the other party again. If it weren't for Eren's magical attainments, maybe he would have found a way to trick the other party with magic. Surprise, indeed a surprise. Vandal smiled and shook his head. He gave up, letting go of the idea of competing with Eren. I thought that after Eren went to learn magic, he would fall behind in swordsmanship. But he didn't expect that his current self could not even compare with the swordsmanship of a doppelganger of the other party. And this is also the result of the other party spending more time on magic. It's not comparable at all. So, after the rotten Vandal, let go of the knot, since it can't be compared, then it's not comparable. Anyway, Aaron is a mage and plays magic instead of swordsmanship. It was the group of mages who had the headache. Well, let's say Loki, for example. Vandal quietly glanced at Loki, taking in the other party's depressed look, and his heart suddenly became happy. What could be happier than watching Loki suffer? Vandal, don't think I don't know what you're thinking. Instead of thinking about it there, it's better to think about how to improve your swordsmanship, a dignified swordsmanship master, that's it. Quote. Loki glared at Vandal in annoyance, unceremoniously sarcastical. It doesn't matter if I'm a sword master, at least someone's self-appointed first mage of the 9 realms has a very high moisture. The illusion magic cast is not as good as a person's level of learning for a week, and my sword art lasted for 1,000 years before being surpassed. Vandal mocked, not to be outdone. HMPH. The first mage of the 9 realms can only be mine. Isn't it illusion magic? I can't match illusion magic. Quote. Loki's tone was full of sourness. Why is my heart still very unwilling? The gap between Aaron and the magic he knows is getting smaller and smaller. Sooner or later, your original advantages will disappear completely. The mutual sarcasm of the two did not affect the battlefield. According to common sense, Asgard should be shot by Saul at this time. Because the strength of the stone giant is not bad, even if the 3 warriors of the Immortal Palace want to win it one-on-one, it will take a certain amount of effort. Not to mention that there is more than one stone giant at this moment. Don't look at the stone giants without the ice magic of the frost giants, the lava of the flame giants, but in terms of strength alone, their strength is the most terrifying. After Saul looked at it, he was ready to step forward to teach the other party a lesson without fear. However, someone was faster than him, and Aaron materialized several doppelgangers with a wave of his hand, this time holding a spear, and killed the stone giant. Thor turned around and complained, Aaron, you've solved so many people, it's time for these big guys to give it to me. Quote. That leave one for you. Quote. Thor rolled his eyes. Seeing that several doppelgangers really gave up a stone giant, Thor was even more speechless. He wants to fight too. This was the first time he had fought against the stone giant, how could he miss it? But for Aaron's sake, and his best friend, he shrugged. We're on, Mjolnir. With a thunderous sound, Thor used Mjolnir's power to swoop and fly to the stone giant, and it was a blow to the head. The stone giant was shattered into piles of stone by its violent human power in a destructive and decaying posture. At this moment, Thor's power was undoubtedly revealed. It seems that Thor is just doing a warm-up. On the other hand, the battle situation of Aaron's doppelganger is not optimistic. The stone giant's defense and strength are top-notch, and the biggest flaws are agility and intelligence. Although Aaron was holding an artifact made of ulu metal, each blow could poke a hole in his body, and rubble was flying. But compared to their huge bodies, these are not fatal injuries. It just made them a little more angry. Aaron's physical strength was still too weak. Even if he plays in person, it is not much better than the physical avatar. Compared with people of Thor's level, I am afraid that the whole body will not be able to wrench an arm of the other party. This is the strength gap between ordinary Asgardians and royals, whether it is energy or physical fitness, it is one day by one. Even if he has practiced hard all his life, in front of Saul, who is only 1,500 years old, he is a child. This is why Aaron gave up warriors in favor of studying magic. Even if he is full of skills, it is difficult to make up for the gap in physical strength. Seeing this, Thor was eager to try, and spoke, Aaron, leave it to me, your doppelganger can't solve them, just change it to you personally. Quote. In this way, I will keep one for you and leave the rest to me. Aaron refused without thinking, no. Quote. Energy explosion. Rumble. The moment the words fell, the Aaron doppelgangers in the center of the battlefield simultaneously cast up to LV4 energy explosion magic. The furious energy swept around. In one breath, several stone giants were torn apart by this force. The billowing smoke has been going away for a long time. When the smoke cleared, everyone took a deep breath. I saw that where the battle was just now, several large pits several meters deep appeared. As for the stone giant, it has long been shattered in the explosion. Doppelgangers also use magic. This power is even more terrifying than my energy explosion. Quote. Loki was taken aback. He has never paid attention to energy explosion magic, and has always been in the initial stage. After all, This kind of chicken rib magic, which is extremely mana-consuming and powerful enough to kill people, is really difficult to climb into the Hall of Elegance. However, now, the magic that was not seen by everyone fell into Aaron's hands, but it showed amazing power. This power is enough to inflict mass damage on the enemy. And it was Aaron's doppelganger who released the magic, and how powerful was it to use it himself? How about I try energy explosion too? Loki was a little gluttonous. It only takes a few phantom doppelgangers combined with energy explosions to have this power. Much stronger than his use of stealth and doppelganger. Who is not gluttonous? And it seems that Aaron's state is not bad. I'm afraid it didn't cost much mana. Amazing deal. However, Loki is not aware that the consumption of mana by energy explosion magic is quite exaggerated. Only Aaron has energy absorption, which can recover energy to the maximum, and it seems that there is not much consumption. For other people, it can only be a trick of killing 1,000 enemies and damaging 800. If you don't kill your opponent, you will lose your combat effectiveness. That is, the stone giant is not too strong an opponent, otherwise, the energy explosion of the doppelganger alone will not be able to solve the battle. In the end, there is still too little time. Even if my energy absorption efficiency is extremely high, I can't improve to the level of Odin in a short time. Otherwise, you won't be able to deal with a few stone giants, so you have to use this extreme trick. Aaron was not satisfied with the course of the battle. The Avatar Plus energy explosion is quite good to use, but unfortunately it is a great challenge to mana consumption. If you can know some principles, you can use physical magic and use magic to create powerful weapons, rather than simply consuming mana to cause explosions. Aaron, your magic is good. Fortunately Loki can't do this, otherwise I won't feel good. Thor praised sincerely. If Loki has this level of illusion doppelganger, with stealth and energy explosions, it can be completely unpreventable. He can't detect the authenticity of Loki's doppelganger and will definitely be shattered by the explosion. Of course, that's all there is for that. Thor is much more resistant to energy than to physics. Even the energy impact of a neutron star can withstand it for a while. Other energy beam attacks can do almost no damage except to hinder their movements. Moves like energy explosions are not as damaging to him as Loki's knife, which may not do much damage, but at least make him bloody. So, for Thor's compliment, Aaron just rolled his eyes. And at this time, with the death of the stone giant, the battle was completely over. The Warnerheim rebels laid down their arms and let the Asgardians push and go. Even if the remaining army still has the advantage at this time, the lack of combat power at the top makes them unable to raise a trace of resistance. Thank you, Thor, Aaron, for saving my hometown. Hogun stepped forward and said gratefully. It's okay, you're our friend, and you should help you. And the Warner Protoss has always been an ally of Asgard. It was, it is, and it will be in the future, and we will never sit idly by. Thor said with a big laugh. Aaron just nodded, kind of agreeing. His thoughts now fell more on Amora. After the return journey, the search for the Holy Spring must be put on the agenda. The matter of magical energy cannot be put off again and again. The day passed. The Warnerheim rebels were completely imprisoned, and Asgard left some of his men to assist in the guards. The rest returned to Asgard via the Rainbow Bridge. After Aaron returned, he began to meditate to restore his magic. While Aaron was training hard, Odin finally publicized the battle. Because there were thousands of people involved in this battle, there was no way to hide it, and there was no need to hide it. In Odin's view, Aaron is his own man, Thor's right-hand man, and the more famous he is, the better it is for Thor's rule. Although it is impossible to create a crown of glory for Thor this time, there are still many opportunities in the future. Not this time, and next time. Asgard's secret enemies are not just the small-poke rebels in Warnerheim's secret. The frost giants in Jotunheim and the flame giants in Muspelheim are still watching in the shadows. If you want to become a true king, your battle exploits must include the other two kingdoms. Without the record of fighting and winning the battle with the two giant races, how can the people feel at ease? Odin is not worried that Thor will not be able to defeat the other two giants. Laufey of the frost giant is like a tiger with teeth pulled out without the ice box, which is not a worry. As for the flame giant King Soltal, the same is true. Although he is older than Odin and Laufey, his strength has been in an extremely weakening stage for thousands of years since he lost the eternal flame. Not much better than Laufey. With the strength of Saul, it is more than enough to deal with them. As long as Thor doesn't go alone recklessly, nothing will happen. But with Thor's character, Odin frowned and remained silent for a long time. It's time to find an opportunity to hone Thor well. The king of Asgard must not be so reckless. On this day, Asgard has a carnival moment. Their beloved son of Odin, Thor, led an army to successfully defeat the Warnerheim rebels. It is said that there was also the shadow of the stone giant in that battle. However, in the end, it was defeated by the warriors of Asgard. It was a gorgeous victory. It also indicates that Asgard is still as strong as ever. They are invincible. Fermentation over time. The crowd also learned another name from the participants in the war, Aaron Manningson. The son of heroes even surpassed Thor in battlefield performance. One man defeated thousands of powerful Warnerheims, as well as most of the stone giants. His powerful level of magic, skillful combat skills, and even more exaggerated achievements than Thor quickly attracted the attention of a large wave of people. Everyone was talking about Aaron. Especially from the mouth of several magic apprentices, it was known that Aaron was just a newcomer to magic, and on the first day of study, he showed a magical talent that amazed the teachers, and the discussion became more and more hot. And there is also grapevine that Aaron defeated the famous swordsmanship master Vandal in swordsmanship and resisted Amora's charm in magic. Vandal never refuted this in the major conferences. He even voluntarily admitted it after a certain drunkenness. As a result, Aaron's fame grew, and he was discussed more often than Thor and the others combined. Even inadvertently, there is a group of followers, admirers. Magical geniuses and swordsmanship masters are always so exciting. Just when the routine became more and more routine, only two people were very unhappy about it. One is Amora, the object of the trampling in this discussion. Fortunately at first, few believed that Aaron could beat Vandal and Amora. But after Vandal voluntarily admitted that his swordsmanship was inferior to Aaron, Amora's trouble came. People who used to be afraid of her like a tiger, recently many women have approached her to confirm the authenticity of this matter. While Amora was annoyed, she also had to hide. No way, her spiritual seduction is far less easy for women than for men. At the same time, she is also crazy to concentrate on psychic charm, trying to punish each other a little the next time she meets Aaron. This time, she was humiliated. Because she always avoided talking about it, the outside world tacitly acquiesced to the authenticity that Amora did not seduce Aaron's success. Her name as Amora is completely gone. The other person is Loki. He was so jealous of Aaron's recent attention that he even pushed off the drinking party. In the past, Thor's reputation was higher than him, and he could barely accept it. After all, Thor's strength was indeed very strong. But what about Aaron? A junior who has learned magic for the first time actually made such a great contribution not long after learning magic, and has been discussed and worshipped by the entire Asgard people. This is the treatment he has dreamed of for thousands of years. However, it was so easy to get by Aaron. And he, who is also a dual cultivator of demon and martial arts, is in a completely opposite situation, and he is still a foil for others. The foil is just that. The key is that there are more and more people to accompany, and one of them is still a junior. How is this not envious and jealous? The more Loki thought about it, the more uncomfortable it became, and the more he thought about it, the more unfair it became. In a fit of anger, he went to Frigga in anger. He will also be as glorious as Aaron, even surpassing Thor. When Loki finds Frigga and asks the other party for skills to combine energy explosions and doppelgangers, Frigga replied crisply, "Impossible." Quote, "Loki, Aaron's talent is not something you and I can catch up. Whether it is a doppelganger or an energy explosion, to reach his level, it requires extremely high magical attainments. Even I can't create a doppelganger that can cast difficult magic. His avatar is no longer an illusion, it can even be said to be an individual with magical energy. Except that consciousness is still under Aaron's control, it is no different from ordinary people. What is the difficulty of illusion magic at this level? I think you should know very well. In fact, the illusion magic he knows is not the magic you and I know for a long time. Moreover, the energy explosion is a great burden on our own magical energy, let alone let the doppelganger use it. That is unrealistic." Frigga understood Loki's urgency. After all, it was indeed difficult to accept being surpassed by a newcomer who had just learned magic in a week's time. However, those who surpassed them were magical demons that had been rare to see for thousands of years. There is absolutely no comparison between the two sides. Like illusion magic, Aaron's current visions and the visions he was originally taught can be said to be two magics. The magic that was originally taught was only an illusion, while Aaron's illusion magic was more like an advanced. In 1 week, he not only completed the study and mastery of illusion magic, but also improved illusion magic into another, more powerful and weird magic. Aaron is horrible. Moreover, even the energy explosion magic has been strengthened. Anyway, Frigga thought she couldn't be as casual as Aaron. Even she can create even stronger explosive power. But it's totally worth the loss. Queen Mother, but I personally saw Aaron use multiple doppelgangers to use energy explosions, causing quite objective killing, and those few stone giants in the center of the battlefield were shattered in an instant. And I don't seem to see much attrition in Aaron. It's like we've performed a transfiguration. Loki was puzzled. He also understood what Frigga meant, but reality brought him too many questions. Why can Aaron use hundreds of energy entity doppelgangers with good combat power at the same time? Why is he able to use energy explosions with his doppelganger without pressure? Why does he still have a lot of magic after casting large magic many times? You know, in terms of magic reserves, Loki has always been far superior to fandom. His magical energy even surpassed that of Frigga. This is also why he is called a magical genius. It is even faintly known as the strongest mage. Although his magic level is not high, there is enough magic to win, and the magic energy is large enough, which makes him have a fairly high evaluation in the mage group. Loki, do you really think Aaron uses the same meditation technique as we do? It is true that Aaron taught him that he is no different from ours, but it does not mean that Aaron cannot improve it. His mana accumulation speed is far from what we can compare. Frigga silently added in her heart, including Loki. Loki is the royal bloodline of the frost giant, even if the frost giant Laufey is too weak, but he is the king of the family. It is far from being comparable to ordinary Protoss people. Although Frigga is a diva, she is also a famous witch of the Warner god clan, but she is not a royal descendant, nor does she have much powerful magical attainments. In fact, since she married Odin and settled in the Golden Palace, Frigga has gradually put down her magic and focused on raising her children and assisting Odin in managing the 9 realms. Therefore, although Frigga's magic hair level is high, it is difficult to continue to improve over a long period of time, and even weaken. What? He actually improved his magic. Could it be that his talent is that powerful? Do such people really exist? Quote. Loki was silent. He didn't want to believe Aaron's existence, but reality was right in front of him. The opponent is really facing the enemy's forces, and it is very likely that he has surpassed himself. Even if the magic he knows still has an absolute advantage, the level of individual magic is like a heaven and earth, and there is no comparison. Am I really not able to catch up with him? The title of the first mage of the 9 realms is about to change hands. Loki looked complicated. Before, he didn't care about the name of the mage, because he was more like a warrior to get everyone's recognition and attention. And he has no rivals in magic. But now, Aaron appeared. The magical talent he displayed directly beat everyone. Even Frigga had to bow down. Loki, don't compare magic with Aaron, that's pointless. You're a genius, but Aaron is a demon. If you can let go of the psychology of competing with it, you will still be a powerful mage in the 9 realms in the future. Quote. Frigga persuaded seriously. It's just that how much Loki listened to, I don't know. The other side. Aaron is finally back in his prime. Abundant magic power, circulating freely in the body. He also knew what had happened in Asgard these days. He became famous, and his fame once overwhelmed Thor and became the most admired object of the year. This caused Aaron quite a bit of trouble. For example, when you go out to find Amora, be careful to avoid fanatical admirers. Don't look at Asgard as a Protoss, but in many ways it is no different from ordinary people. They, like ordinary earthlings, have joys, sorrows, and of course fans. In order to avoid them, Aaron was even forced to use a physical avatar to attract most of the people. He himself went to Amora's place. At this moment, Amora is painstakingly studying psychic enchantment magic, and the hard work of the past few days has allowed her to complete a small breakthrough. The breakthrough is small, but it is actually much more terrifying. Amora is confident that he can control the previous Aaron. It's time for revenge. Aaron, are you ready? Sister, I'm here again. Quote. Amora, I'm coming. Just as Amora wanted to go out to find Aaron's obscurity, in order to wash away the shame of being slandered by gossip for many days, a loud voice came from outside the door. It's him, Aaron. Well, I haven't gone to you yet, but you sent it yourself. This time, see who else can help you. Amora was stunned at first, and then shocked by a huge surprise. What could be more exciting than the prey itself being delivered to the door? Last time, she didn't dare to make a move because she was worried that Aaron would call someone. It turns out that her conjecture is correct. Aaron not only called people, but also called the Queen of Heaven. But that time, her seduction of Aaron was unsuccessful. On the contrary, the body that he hid is incomplete. In the end, I had to leave in embarrassment. I was self-doubting for days. Recently, he was poked out of that humiliating experience, and everyone knew that he had attacked Aaron and failed. She, the seductive witch, really became a clown and was ridiculed. Starting today, though, everything will change. Her spiritual enchantment and magical attainment broke through. A better life is coming. Thinking again of successfully controlling Aaron, turning him into his own exclusive legendary mage, and then crisscrossing the good life of Asgard and even the 9 realms, Amora swept away the bitterness of the past and smiled. Yo, isn't this our little genius Aaron? Didn't you still call people Sister Amora before, but now why do you call people by their names? It seems that after a few days, our relationship is really a lot rusty. Could it be because he has become a big hero and a big man in Asgard, and he can't look down on a small teacher? It's really sad. Amora pretended to be sad and said coquettishly. In words, Amora inadvertently used the power of seduction. In other words, as an ordinary person, in her whispering, she was seduced by it and lost her self-awareness. Aaron, however, was completely immune. The upgraded psychic barrier does not need to be used by him at all, and directly runs itself. Once the power of the mind penetrates, it will cause the self-defense mechanism to resist. In other words, even if a psychic master tries to sneak attack, it will not be able to pose a threat to Aaron. Unless you use your huge psychic ability to forcibly break through the defense. But those who can do that step are definitely strong. It is clear that Amora has not yet reached that level. Amora, don't pretend, don't you think it's tiring? This time, Aaron did not continue to act and directly had a showdown with the other party. Do what you want to do directly, and when you do it well, I also have something to find you. Facing Aaron's completely opposite face, Amora obviously did not react, and was directly stunned there for a long time. It took a while for Amora to realize what Aaron had said, and he changed his teasing look, which was rarely serious. She frowned lightly and looked at Aaron carefully, with a bit of surprise in her tone. Aaron Manningson, allow me to call you that. You're out of me, oh no, it should be beyond everyone's expectations. Unexpectedly, that demon who is so obsessed with magic and seems to have only magic in his mind actually has another side. This is the real you. A monster with a disguise on the surface, but insight into everything in his heart. Since you know my plan, you still dare to take the initiative to seduce me, and even come to the door, aren't you afraid that I will really control you? At that time, no matter what plans you have, they will be known by me and become nothing. Speaking of this, Amora felt a sudden in her heart, and only felt that she had fallen into a shocking conspiracy. Aaron, who once seemed ignorant, actually hid so deeply. Perhaps, even Aaron and even Thor didn't know, right? And now, the other party actually stopped acting in front of him. Does that mean that the other party is sure of himself? Amora wanted to escape. The unprecedented sense of crisis made her desperate to escape here. But in the end, she suppressed her fear. Amora is confident that she will be fine. Even if psychic magic doesn't work, how can a mage who has only been learning for a week defeat or even catch himself? Even if the other party is a hero. Mages have never been stubborn by force. Nor was she a few bulky stone people, nor was she the group of barbarians who had nothing but cold weapons. Aaron smiled softly and began to slowly move closer to Amora. How do you know if you don't try? I sent it myself, come on. Quote. Amora hinted in her heart that she was not afraid, but when Eren really began to approach, her feet took 2 uncontrollable steps back. Eren continued to laugh and move forward. Seeing that it was getting closer and closer, Amora hurriedly cast enchantment magic. However, when she tried to control the other party's consciousness, she found that the former spiritual barrier was even more indestructible. Before, she could barely shake its defenses, but now, as if hitting the Ulu shield, she couldn't do the slightest damage. What a monster. Even Odin's old thing definitely didn't block my charms so easily, right? Quote. Seeing this, Amora couldn't help but complain again. While complaining, she kept moving, and the whole person took off into the air and floated out. Amora, did you forget, my motivation is still taught by you. Eren unhurriedly held it with one hand, and the invisible and traceless thought power turned into a large hand, dragging Amora down from the sky. With his other hand, he controls more than a dozen daggers, blocking the space around Amora, eliminating the possibility of his escape. Eren, don't underestimate me. I'm not just seductive. Quote. Amora quickly waved his hand to summon a protective shield, a new defensive magic. New magic that even Loki hasn't used. As soon as the energy shield came out, it isolated the Nyen power, and even barely blocked the dagger attack. Of course, it's just barely. Eren did not use the power of the mind with full load, but increased his strength little by little, testing the strength of the energy shield. He was interested in this magic. As far as Eren knew, defensive magic was fairly rare in Asgard. This may have something to do with Asgard's physique and Ulu metal. The physical fitness of the Asgardians is considered to be the top in the galaxy. As for Ulu metal, there is no need to say more. Thor's defenses are strong enough, right? It wasn't stabbed by Loki's knife yet. Cursed warrior strong enough. Raise his hand to shoot away Mjolnir, which even the Hulk can't do, but is also pierced by a mediocre Ulu metal spear. Thanos' adopted daughter, Gamora, possesses a god-killing weapon, and its name comes from its ability to kill an Asgardian. This shows how strong the Asgardians' defense is. Even the entire galaxy recognizes their power. Coupled with the fact that the holy dwarves of all the scientific researchers in the universe have specially created artifacts for Asgard to obtain its protection, so that Asgard has no shortage of artifacts. This also led to the fact that Asgard's magical research was also affected to a certain extent. There is very little defensive magic. It's pitiful. The defensive magic shown in the movie is probably as long as the large energy shield opened by the Golden Palace during the Dark Elf raid. Now, Amora actually used a similar defensive magic to block his attack. This was very interesting to Eren. The first thought in my mind, I must get it. Nyen power continues to increase in strength. While blocking Amora's floating, he is also manipulating the dagger to break through the defense of the protective shield. The confrontation did not last long, and when the Nyen power strength increased to LV3, Amora's defenses were completely broken. The long drive of Ulu metal straight in, further reducing Amora's space for movement. Amora looked flustered. She really didn't expect Eren to become so strong in just 1 week. It's outrageous. It was clear that the Nyen power that he taught the other party was actually used against him, which not only neutralized her Nyen power, but also had the spare power to control the dagger to break through her energy shield. Another energy explosion magic was even used by the other party to cooperate with the fantasy doppelganger and kill several stone giants in one fell swoop. Bull is on. When she first taught Eren magic, she never wanted to teach it sincerely. The magic she taught was all chicken rib magic that she thought was completely useless, and she even meant to send it off when she taught the other party. Others dare not guarantee, but energy explosions and Nyen power are recognized as more gorgeous than practical use. As long as you are a normal person, it is impossible to specialize. Wouldn't it be better to learn more practical magic? For example, illusions, transfiguration, telekinesis, teleportation, and so on. Aren't they all stronger than Nyen power and energy explosion? But I didn't expect that these two ordinary magics, falling into Yalin's hands, suddenly exerted incredible intensity. Magical demon, is it so unreasonable? It's not fair. Unrealistic. Amora roared madly in her heart. She knew very well that she had no chance of winning this battle. The other party can push themselves to such a point with their motivation. If you really go all out, you will die. Escape. You have to get out. Amora's heart moved, and he spent a lot of mana to open a green round door in front of him, which was a portal. One bent down, and Amora smoothly came outside through the portal. Finally escaped, unexpectedly, Aaron, in addition to the master of the mind, I also learned to teleport magic. Quote, after all, you are still too young and impatient. If you can calm down and study, the magical achievements will definitely far surpass me, and by then, I will not be able to escape. However, if you didn't catch me today, there will be no chance in the future. Only, just what? The familiar voice only echoed in his ears, and Amora turned his head stiffly, and suddenly found Aaron standing behind him. Here, Amora was already incoherent. Didn't she remember that she had teleported away? How Aaron is behind it? However, she closed the portal the moment after leaving. How did the other party catch up? Could it be that without her knowledge, Aaron had learned portals? Only this reason can explain why the other party can catch up immediately. Don't think about it. Do you really think the place where you teleported is outside? Aaron saw Amora's thoughts and said meaningfully. What do you mean? Have I never teleported out of my house? Quote. Amora was stunned, and then a terrifying possibility arose. She was in the midst of an illusion created by Aaron throughout. The so-called teleportation is a false fragment created by illusion. In fact, she has always been in this environment and even standing still. It's just terrible. When did Aaron, without her knowledge, establish a large area around her with a unique illusion space? Blinded all her senses. Amora, can you listen carefully to my request now? Aaron said lightly. He has cracked all the means of Amora. Take Amora's life at any time. Amola is also well aware of this. She had no doubt that Aaron would kill her. If it were someone else, she would say no in the affirmative, but if it was Aaron, it would be different. In the absence of war, every abnormal death in Asgard will attract great attention, and even Odin will personally intervene. Because there are too few Asgardians. Each one is precious. If an unlawful person kills someone and is discovered, it will not be long before he is personally arrested by the high level. But Aaron is different. He is a master of magic, and no one can see through the doppelganger he creates. This means that the other party can completely kill her and use the doppelganger instead of the other party. No one will even notice. Then take advantage of some opportunity to die for reasonable reasons, then Amora will be forgotten unknowingly. Amora just understood, so after a little consideration, she nodded and said, today is the old lady planted. If there is anything, just say it. As long as I can do it, I will do it. Quote. Choose wisely. Aaron approached her, stared at her turquoise pupils, and said, I need you. I need your psychic magic, teleportation magic, energy shield magic, and stealth magic. Amora's eyebrows jumped when she heard this, and her tone rose sharply. What? Are you bothering me just to find me to learn magic? Quote. How else? What do you think I'm going to do? Quote. I thought, well, count me unlucky this time. My head lacks roots, and I am stupid enough to take the initiative to trouble you. Quote. Amora looked resigned. What can she do? She was also desperate. Just to learn magic, Aaron went straight to her house, threatening to destroy her humanely. Big brother, you want to learn magic, you say. You are a student, and I am also a teacher. As for getting to this point, Amora selectively forgot the moment when she fooled the other party with the chicken rib magic. Of course, she didn't think so, more because these two magics showed unprecedented lethality in Aaron's hands. Who before Aaron could combine illusions and energy explosions. It also shows amazing power. And Nyen power was deeply hidden, and as soon as it was used, it cracked her energy shield. This also made Amora realize that there is no most chicken magic, only the most wasteful people. The chicken ribs in the eyes of others are comparable to high-level magic in Aaron's hands. I can teach you magic, but stealth magic can't. Aaron's gaze froze. Amora quickly explained. It's not that I don't want to teach, it's that I can't stealth magic, otherwise I can't escape your illusion. Quote. Stealth magic is not strictly Asgardian's magic, but Warner Protoss's magic. All of Asgard, maybe only Frigga and Loki can do this magic. Of course, Odin probably will too. Hearing this explanation, Yaren was relieved. As far as he knows, although the presence of the Warner Protoss in the Marvel world is not strong, and even the only chance to appear is after the destruction of the Rainbow Bridge. It is also one of Sulpan's treason. The combat effectiveness shown in that appearance was not even as good as this rebellion. But it doesn't mean that Warner Protoss has no merit. The Warner Protoss also has a long history of magic, and at that time it was one of the strong contenders for the Lord of the Nine Realms in Asgard. It's just that the Warner Protoss is not the protagonist, and was finally defeated by Odin, and later even began to fuse with the Asa Protoss, so that the sense of existence is very low, and it is not as good as the collapsed Frost Giant. Its representative Hogun has even become a follower of Saul, and he can only get rid of Asgard when there is unrest in his hometown. I have to say, very sad. But Eren didn't care. That is, to get the invisibility magic, you still need to find Loki or Frigga. Eren frowned. Although it was a little different from the plan, it was still expected, and there was a windfall. I actually got teleportation magic and energy shield magic. Both of these are high-level magic, and even Loki has not mastered it at this time. Among them, teleportation magic has only been used by the elderly Loki. When escaping the void monster Ilios, old Loki uses teleportation magic many times, and it is instantaneous magic, which is much more clever than Karma Taj's. Of course, there are advantages and disadvantages. Asgard's teleportation magic is high-level magic, which is quite difficult to learn and requires a lot of mana, and ordinary mages are not qualified to learn at all, and they are also short-distance teleportation. And Karma Taj's portal is almost equivalent to entry magic, only need a suspense, with a certain amount of time training, can be mastered, and can be teleported to any scene in memory. Strictly speaking, with Karma Taj's unique borrowing magic method, as long as it is an individual, you can learn to portal. So, on the whole, Asgard's portal is really not necessarily comparable to Karma Taj. But even instantaneously, and without borrowing, it is the only choice for escape and pursuit. Although the teleportation magic is not as good as Karma Taj, Eren is more enthusiastic about it. In his opinion, these are not disadvantages, but advantages. Not enough distance. It's okay. As long as you are diligent enough and the level is high enough, these can be solved. How much energy is needed? It's okay. He will definitely not lack magic power in the future. Even if he uses the time pile, he can easily obtain energy reserves that are more terrifying than Odin, and even comparable to more advanced cosmic gods. As for the energy shield magic, there is no need to say more, its rarity determines its extraordinary. For Eren, who is severely defenseless, it is definitely a blessing. Do we start now? Do you want to lift the illusion magic first? I will definitely not escape. Amora asked cautiously. What do you say? Eren seemed to be smiling. Don't play tricks, start teaching magic now, and in a week, this illusion will naturally be lifted. Well, Amora helplessly spread her hands. Then began teaching Eren's magic. You seriously cast the portal magic once, slightly gained, the portal magic proficiency +1. You seriously cast the energy shield magic once, and you gained a slight gain, the energy shield magic proficiency +1. But after a while, Eren learned several more magics. In addition to teleportation and energy shields, there is also the psychic magic that Amora is proud of. Psychic enchantment magic is not only to seduce the opposite gender, but also contains the ability of mind control and mind reading. The seduction used by Amora is to use mind control combined with his special constitution to develop the intensity of mind control. Although the special physique brings her a more powerful seductive effect, it also deprives her of the ability to seduce women. That's why Amora feels powerless against the female Sith. Fighting head-on, she lost her greatest reliance on magic, and it was difficult for her to use other, low-level, magic to threaten the other party. Moreover, Amora cannot seduce Odin's level with the help of special physique. No matter what, Odin is also a god-king level existence, a powerful heavenly father god, placed among all heavenly father gods, he is a top powerhouse. Amora was unable to defeat the powerful female warrior or seduce the strongest Odin, which led to his current poor state of life. After learning the point from Amora's complaints, Eren abandoned Amora and began to practice magic. In order to prevent Amora from escaping and spreading propaganda to others, he was not ready to let Amora go until he had raised his magic to a certain level. Amora also knew the reason and could only wait honestly. Looking at Eren's crazy increase in magical power, Amora suddenly had a ridiculous idea. Or do you want to vote directly? No wonder Amora suddenly thought of giving in. It was Aaron's magical talent that was too terrifying. For others, the difficult magic that takes a lot of time to master, in Aaron's case, is still no different from the magic of the difficulty of illusion. Just teach it once, the other party learns it, and it is still improving at an amazing rate. If she hadn't seen it with her own eyes, she would never have believed it. At the moment, Aaron's face flashed an inconspicuous paleness. Feeling the huge consumption of mana, Aaron immediately stopped the idea of continuing to improve. No way, portals require too much mana. Compared with space storage, it is a difference between one day and one place. With his mana reserves at the moment, it was difficult to obtain a large amount of improvement in a very short time. In addition, it is necessary to increase the energy shield to maintain a huge illusion space. Under multiple burdens, the portal can only be raised to LV2 level. Further up, only take your time. As for the energy shield, the same is true. Energy shield, simply put, is to release mana into a protective shield, which is the most effective defense against energy attacks. But when it comes to defending against physical attacks, it's less effective. If you continue to improve, you may be able to make up for this shortcoming. It must also be made up. Because the superheroes and villains currently active in the Marvel world rely more on physical strength to fight. Even a demon warrior like Thor still rarely uses thunder after awakening. The defense power of the energy shield is also related to the energy supply, which is similar to the energy explosion magic. Therefore, in order to maximize the shield's abilities, it is necessary to have a huge amount of mana. As for psychic seduction, Aaron has not yet begun to practice. Looking at Amora, Aaron moved. You seriously cast a psychic enchantment magic once, and you gained a slight gain, seduction magic proficiency +1. Are you serious? In Amora's terrified look, Aaron uses her to improve his psychic magic proficiency. This time, Amora finally experienced firsthand the exaggerated and desperately terrifying speed of increase. The psychic attack she felt became stronger and stronger, and at first she could completely ignore it, but later, she had to divide part of her mind to resist the invasion. That kind of speed she had never seen before. Even seeing Aaron learn other magic, that sense was not as shocking as experiencing it himself. She struggled to withstand wave after wave of shock. Not long after, the babbling stream had turned into a raging river. She used all her strength to resist the impact, the psychic barrier, the psychic power hedge, and tried her best to defend. It wasn't until later that she had a hard time thinking distracted. Most of the mind sank into the ferocity of the attack. Wait, I give up. Don't me anymore. I am willing to surrender to you and be loyal to you for eternity. No matter what you ask, I will unconditionally obey. Quote. Realizing that if he continued, he would become Aaron's puppet, Amora quickly begged for mercy. The man she controlled other people, the man she manipulated, would lose all consciousness, be driven by her wanton, and have no freedom at all. She didn't want to be that kind of person, she knew the pitiful misery of the manipulated. Especially the object as Aaron, a master of illusions, even if she is put this and that, no one will notice, not even Odin can see the flaw. On that day, she would be worse alive than dead. What you said is true. Aaron stopped moving and looked at her. Really, what I said is true. Quote. Seeing this, Amora hurriedly expressed his intentions. I swear to the gods, as long as I dare to go against any of your wishes, or have bad thoughts about you, then my magic will never be able to go further, and I will be punished by heaven. Quote. Speaking of this, she looked up at Aaron again, and found that the other party had not agreed, so she gritted her teeth again, and after my death, I will never be able to enter Valhalla, and my soul will be tortured and destroyed in the endless Hades. Quote. Valhalla, that is, Valhalla. The place where the souls of the Asa gods go after their death. There, the Asa people who died in battle will continue to live in the form of souls, and there will even be a chance to be resurrected in the future. It can be said that it is a place that every Asgardian cannot desecrate. Amora's oath is quite weighty. And this is marvel, swearing by the gods is powerful. Once violated, the consequences are unbearable. Even Odin did not dare to swear like this easily. Not to mention Amora. Hearing this, Aaron stopped using her to practice psychic enchantment magic. Amora finally breathed a sigh of relief. Although the other party did not say, She knew that her freedom was held, and her life was also held. But thinking that he would not be able to refuse Aaron's order in the future, the whole person seemed to lose its luster all of a sudden. Amora, Amora, why are you stupid enough to trouble him? You deserve it. Now that Amora had been subdued, Aaron naturally wanted to implement the plan as soon as possible. Without hesitation at the moment, he ordered, I have something for you here. Gather all the information about the Fountain of Wisdom as soon as possible. It is best to find its specific location. I am useful, understand? Quote. Amora nodded and said, understood, I will immediately go to the library to collect all the information. Quote. Well, in this process, I don't want anyone to know about this relationship between you and me, and I can't let anyone know that you are looking for the Fountain of Wisdom. Aaron was not prepared to let people know his plans until he did not have enough strength to guarantee. Even Amora was not prepared to say it all. During this time, he will maintain his previous relationship with Amora until he finds a way to solve his energy reserves. Amora did not dare to ask more, and nodded repeatedly to show that he knew. She vaguely guessed what Aaron wanted to do, and for a while, she wanted to slap herself again. Why mention the news of the Holy Spring at that time? It's just one of the various rumors in Asgard, and no one even confirms it. It was Jotunheim, the territory of the Frost Giant. But not the peaceful Asgard. All she could do was gather all the information in the library. And there are so many books in the library that trying to find the Fountain of Wisdom is no different from finding a needle in a haystack. Oh, remembered, I was thinking of pinching Aaron, so I casually said the gossip of the Holy Spring, but I didn't expect that the other party actually paid attention to this unreliable news. And since then, he has been targeted by Aaron. What a wrong step. Amora was sighing when another Aaron vision came through the door. After whispering a few words, he disappeared. Aaron frowned. The doppelganger just now was one of several illusions that were discharged to attract people, and since he was too busy with the trouble of Amora, he did not pay attention to the situation of the illusion doppelganger. Just now the doppelganger told him that Thor had come looking for him. Aaron didn't know the purpose of Thor's sudden visit to him at this moment, but it seemed like a good thing. Otherwise, Thor would not be so happy, and even said that there was a surprise waiting for him. Thinking of this, Aaron gave Amora a few casual orders, and then withdrew from the illusion space and left. Seeing the familiar environment, Amora collapsed on the chair, complex emotions alternately surging, and for a while she wanted to cry without tears. When he got home, Aaron saw Thor and his group. At this time, the souls had not yet recovered from the joy of victory. These 2 days have been the happiest they have had in recent times. Because they accomplished a brilliant victory. I don't know how many topics of discussion there are about them. Cocktail party invitations are even more difficult to get. There was even a hint of alcohol left on their bodies. Those people are so enthusiastic that they can't wait to put a few people in one cup. Aaron, you're finally here. Thor saw Aaron's arrival, smiled and said hello, but also complained. Where have you been during this time? You can't find anyone. We still discussed to go for a few drinks together. Don't you know, your name has spread throughout Asgard. Everyone knows that a legendary mage has appeared in the fairy palace who defeated the Warner God clan army after only 1 week of studying magic. Quote. Oh my God, those people are crazy and want to meet you like crazy, and they write about passionate women who are expecting you to be at the drinking party. Vandal should know this best. Vandal took the topic and complained angrily. Aaron, you guy is completely angry. Now everyone knows that you defeated me, became the new master of swordsmanship, and also defeated the enemy and won for Asgard. Quote. Nowadays, the girls are all empathetic, they all want to drink wine with you, and even come to me for the purpose of seeing you. In my opinion, you have taken away the title of swordsmanship, and the playboy is not guaranteed. Vandal showed a resentful look, and sighed again and again as he spoke. You still hold the reputation of the playboy, who doesn't know how attractive your mouth is. You are the face of the immortal palace. Aaron said angrily. Face value. Vandal looked at Aaron seriously, and his heart was full of taste. Before saying this, you should look in the mirror. It's not me who is responsible. Ha ha ha, you finally admit that you are not the most handsome among us. Thor also burst out laughing. Thor, don't be proud. Anyway, it's not you who looks good, and you're not as handsome as me. Vandal said unceremoniously. Seeing Thor and Vandal suddenly tearing down the steps of each other, everyone else smiled knowingly. This is how they get along with each other, and they can be said to be best friends. It is never constrained by the gap in status. Come on, or let's get down to business first. What are you suddenly looking for me? Could it be that the wine party does not provide enough good wine? Or are the girls not enthusiastic enough? Quote. Aaron didn't show much surprise at this time, he already knew how famous he was now. He became Asgard's war hero and one of the most famous warriors. Even once above the 3 warriors of the Immortal Palace. Not much worse than Saul. Thor finally remembered the matter at this time, and congratulated Aaron. Aaron, congratulations, the Queen of Heaven has expressed her willingness to accept you as a disciple. The Queen of Heaven wants to take me as an apprentice. Aaron was a little surprised. In his memory, Frigga only had Loki's apprentice, because they regarded Loki as an adopted son, and no one else had this treatment. But on second thought, Aaron had told him that on the day she entered the Magic Academy, she had suggested to Frigga to accept an apprentice. Only that time Frigga refused. It is said that it is necessary to continue to observe his talent so that it is possible to teach it personally. Originally, Aaron had no hope, but today Thor came to inform him of the news. There is no doubt about the truth of what Saul said. He was Frigga's child. I'm afraid that this matter has been acquiesced by Odin. That's right, in view of your strong magical talent and outstanding performance in the matter of counterinsurgency, after discussing with your father, the Queen Mother decided to accept you as a disciple and teach you more magical knowledge. After the Queen Mother knows about my relationship with you, let me inform you that you can go directly to the Academy of Magic to find her in the future. Thor was happy about the matter. He was more than in favor of Frigga's decision. Aaron's magical talent is obvious to all, and as his friend, Thor clearly and intuitively sees the rapid growth of Aaron's strength. Before learning magic, Aaron was the weakest and youngest in their small group. But after a week of studying magic, I am afraid that only Thor himself among the several people dares to say that he will take Aaron steadily. Everyone else was surpassed by Aaron. Especially the Battle of Warnerheim is simply amazing. Even he was shocked by it, and for the first time they knew that magic could still be played like this. Illusion magic and energy explosion magic are comparable to a Protoss elite in Aaron's hands. It's terrifying. Congratulations Aaron, you can get the approval and teaching of the Queen of Heaven. With your magical talent, you will definitely be able to become the first mage of the 9 realms in the future. Hogun said heartily. He has a lot of affection for Aaron, because the other party is one of the main forces in calming the Warnerheim War. Aaron helped him save his hometown from war, and Hogun was grateful for that. Others followed suit. They have been impressed by Aaron's performance. If before Aaron was appreciated and recognized by them with his expertise, now he has completely conquered them with his strength. Unknowingly, Aaron has become the second strongest in the small group after Thor. Vandal smiled and said, "Ha ha ha, that guy Loki, before he said in front of me that you don't have as much magic as him, but now it's good, with the teaching of the Queen of Heaven, he will soon be unable to laugh." Quote. Vandal, don't be too happy, Loki hasn't been to the drinking party recently, I heard that he is pestering the Queen of Heaven to learn magic, I'm afraid you'll be teased by him at that time. Sif said with some schadenfreude. For the small conflict between Loki and Vandal, they are all holding the mentality of watching the excitement. I never think it's a big deal. It even felt that after Loki learned magic, at most, he only used magic to tease them like before. Let's wait until he has the energy to trouble me. In the future, Aaron will study with him under Frigga. I am very happy to see his expression, I believe it must be wonderful. Vandal seemed to have seen Loki's depressed look. The others laughed when they heard this. They all knew that Loki was obsessed with the title of the first mage of the 9 realms. No one fought with him before, so forget it. Now that Aaron has appeared, a magical demon, Loki is probably having a big head. In the face of everyone's joy, Aaron brought out a fine wine to thank him. During this time together, he has figured out the hobbies of several people. Warriors, except for pickup girls, is to drink. Asgardians are no exception. Because of Sif's presence, people are more enthusiastic about fine wine. Only Vandal always does not forget to provoke women, and for this is often disliked and spit on by Sif. This time, Aaron took out not the wine from the ordinary drinking party, but the high-strength wine that he specially stored for a certain vintage. He is now a member of Asgard, and the most contact he has had in 1,000 years besides training is fine wine. Even though he gradually changed many habits for strength and survival after his memory awakened, his love of drinking has not changed. It's just that recently, the pleasure brought by the power increase has suppressed this alcohol. Sure enough, when Aaron took out more than a dozen altars of precious wine, Sultan looked straight at the wine altar. The rich aroma of wine hooked his consciousness, and he said without reluctance, "How is this embarrassing? I'm here to inform you that I didn't want to drink the wine you hidden." Quote. Aaron just patted him on the shoulder. "What are you waiting for? Don't get drunk today." Quote. Swish. When the words fell, everyone turned into drunkards, and one swooped up and picked up the wine altar and drank fiercely. Thor even took away the most fine wine with his great strength and superhuman speed. At one point, it caused others to complain. But it wasn't long before Aaron fell silent as he took out more wine. Only the rumbling sound and the occasional exclamation remains. That night, everyone was drunk. Aaron was also happy to drink more. The plan went so smoothly, and the improvement in strength was even more gratifying, and he rarely let go of his tense spirit and celebrated well. By the time consciousness returned, it was already the second day. After briefly recalling what happened yesterday, Aaron hurried to the Academy of Magic. He was also looking forward to learning more magic from Frigga. Among them, stealth magic must be obtained. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.